of times on social media, it's really easy just to talk about like everything that's going great and all the cool new things that we're doing. And oh, this life hack and this habit really changed my life and made it so much easier. And now I can maximize all that time. But sometimes we're not really even thinking about maximizing our time. We're just thinking about, I have to make it to tomorrow, and I have to make it to next week, or I have to make it to the next meal. And we all have these just difficult seasons, and it can be really hard to manage a house or a home with just the basics that need to happen. And so these things are things that have really, really helped me to maintain the things that I think need to be maintained in my home, while also giving myself some space to heal and to grieve if I need to grieve, or manage the overwhelm a little bit easier. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome to 2026, the first video of the year. I am so excited to be back. I accidentally took a long break, and that was honestly not planned, even though it did happen around the holidays. I'm not going to get into too much detail or anything, but we had a lot of things going on, happy holiday things, and then just some really hard life things that happened. I have managed to make my way out on this side with a few more gray hairs, some developing worrying wrinkles, and just a different perspective of life. One thing that it did make me think about was how even in hard times, our houses and our homes still have to be maintained and still have to function. When I first had my big life change of having a baby, I was drowning. I had a really, really hard time adjusting. And then about a year after my daughter was born, I found some of these tips and tricks and habits, and they really have helped my life run a lot smoother in the last couple of years. And then last year, when we started having a lot of health issues and other things happening in our life, these habits have actually helped me maintain my home in a way that was way less stressful, and just in a way where everything that I needed to get done did get done. And I just wanted to share some of those with you guys today. So I just wanted to share some of these habits that really, really helped me when I could not get out of bed, when I was super ill, or when someone in our home gets sick and ill. These things really help our house keep going. I think the first thing to think about with our homes is, what is the goal of our homes and what is the goal in our house? And I think that's going to change based on each family and each person. In my house, the bare minimum is we need to eat, we need to sleep, and we need to have clean clothes. It's really important to be able to break down the huge vastness of your home into the bare minimum so that you can really focus on those when times are really hard. The first one I have here sounds really intense and sounds like a lot of work, but stick with me. I am a big believer in making freezer meals so that you can have a meal ahead of time. It sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds really intense whenever you feel well, or you're in a good stage of life or a really slow stage of life. Make a giant pot of chili, just make double, and then freeze half of it. And that is going to build up your freezer meals way quicker and way easier than if you do them all in a day. When I was pregnant, I saw a lot of videos on YouTube about, oh, here's a Saturday to make all my freezer meals while I'm, feeling energized and refreshed. And to be quite honest with you, I never ever felt energized and refreshed enough to be on my feet all day to cook, to be prepared for that postpartum time. So I didn't really make a lot of meals. So we just didn't really have many. Once I had my baby, I realized it was really easy just to make a double pot of soup, or to make a double serving of enchiladas, or to make a double of lasagna and then freeze half of it. And that really has been a game changer when I'm not feeling well, or if I just don't feel like cooking. it's so nice just to pull from my freezer and be able to like have homemade chili and it feel really comforting and warm and know that I made it and it's delicious. And I don't know, that's something that I'm just going to keep doing forever, where if I just am like, oh, I have a little bit of extra time, or I actually have enough ingredients for double this, let me just go ahead and do that. Doubling the recipe to freeze it is such a game changer. A couple items that have helped me with this are gallon freezer bags. I know there's a lot of different feelings about freezer bags or whatever, but I found them to be really easy to use and easy to store and easy to label and easy to dispose of whenever I cannot do dishes. So I just get a bunch of freezer bags and I'll put soup in there and freeze it and then, put it in a way where I can file it. I also got these really cool things called super cubes, where they're basically like giant ice trays and you can fill them to certain serving sizes and then freeze them in the cubes, and those can go in the freezer bags, and those make it really easy to make single serving soups or to make them where they fit like blocks in your freezer. If you have a limited freezer space, they freeze soup really, really well, and or like gravy or something like that, and I really recommend those. I've used mine so much and I love them. Another kitchen habit that has been a game changer for my home is running the dishwasher every single night. I will make sure that it's totally full and ready to go in the evening so that before I go to bed or before my husband goes to bed, one of us will start the dishwasher. And in the morning when I wake up, I can unload the clean dishes and have the dishwasher clear and the sink clear, ready for dirty dishes. One thing I've noticed is that when just all the time, but especially when I'm overwhelmed and stressed, is a dirty sink just really pushes me over the edge. And so if I can have a clean sink and have the dishes in the dishwasher, then it is just one thing that makes my life so much easier. And I wish this was a habit that I had thought about earlier on in my life because it really is just such a game changer to take the dirty dish and immediately put it in the dishwasher instead of letting it sit in the sink and then having to run the dishwasher in the middle of the day and then unload them at some point. And just knowing I have to unload it every morning really takes the burden off. It also takes some edge off of the overwhelm of the chores that I have to do. When I set this habit during a time of life when life was a little bit easier, knowing that I had to empty the dishwasher when life was a little bit harder really wasn't a big deal for me. When I was younger, for some reason, just unloading the dishwasher just like made me want to freak out. But if I can just do it first thing in the morning, then I know I'm setting myself up for success for the rest of the day and making sure that sink is empty. And it just is such a game changer. Another household chore that feels really overwhelming anytime to me, especially when I don't feel well, is laundry. I finally got a laundry sorter. This has helped so much. It is so insane because it's just so simple and it was fairly inexpensive. I think mine cost like $30, and the peace of mind that I have with it is worth the $30. And I can't believe I waited this long. It's really kind of embarrassing how much it's helped me. Being able to have separate sections for towels and linens, they go in one section, and then my husband has one and I have one, and then my daughter has her laundry in her bedroom. And having every single person's laundry already pre-sorted before it goes into the washing machine makes the folding so much easier. There's just so many less piles of laundry once it's washed, because it's pre-sorted. For some reason in my brain, it just makes sense and it helps me. And I like being able to look in the sorter and be like, oh, I needed to do a load of laundry because my hamper is full, or, oh, we might need more towels because this hamper is full. Let me do a load of laundry, instead of going in there and there's one hamper and I don't know who needs what. And it just feels really overwhelming seeing one giant load and then having to wash it all and dry it all and then sort it out into a million different piles. It just is not something I want to do anymore. Having the pre-sorted laundry has just made that task bearable, and especially like just so much easier for me to do when life is hard. It makes it easier for my husband to do. And I know, like, I know your first thought is, well, what about like darks and colors and whites and brights? And I just don't organize my clothes that way. I kind of wear a limited color palette anyway. Like my clothes are all black and blue, basically. My daughter's clothes are all in a similar color palette as well to her style. My husband has a similar color palette in his style, and then all of our linens are like the same color. So even by pre-sorting them that way, they're kind of pre-sorted by color. Because my clothes are much darker than my daughter's clothes, I would have to sort them by person anyway. So it kind of just works out for the best for us, and I totally recommend it. Another habit that I really like that I know has been debated by a lot of people is making the bed. And this seems like such a frivolous one, especially if you're going through a really hard time. If you have a lot of grief or a lot of health issues, you may not be leaving your bed, and you may not be in the mood to make your bed. And I just really, really recommend, especially if you're having a hard time, especially if you're grieving, especially if you're feeling like depressed or anxious, to whenever you manage to get up to go get a shower, if you can make your bed when you leave it, I think you will feel emotionally a lot better and mentally a lot better when you come back to your room and it's a made bed and you can open it up and get right back into it, and it just feels fresh and it doesn't feel as grungy as the crumpled up sheets. I just fully believe that making your bed really does help with mental clarity. To me, I really equate it to that empty sink of, you know, seeing the full sink of dirty dishes. It just already puts you into like an anxious, bad mood. And I feel like the same goes for a bed that's not made, where if you walk in and it's an unmade bed, you don't see it as an unmade bed. You see it as a task that's incomplete or a reminder of where you just were. Like maybe you finally managed to go up and get a shower and you feel better because of your shower. And then you come back and then the unmade bed reminds you of where you just were. And I think just making it can help you to move a little bit forward, like a half a step forward. And I think it can be really helpful. And if you can manage it, I also recommend changing the sheets out whenever you get out of bed and having fresh sheets, because there's really nothing quite as comforting as fresh sheets. And if you need someone to help you with that, or if all you can manage is to get out of bed and get a shower, I would still recommend making your bed and just see how it kind of changes your perspective on your room and the rest of your home and just what you're going through. It can be really helpful. I really recommend a habit that you make is to open your windows. And this can be seasonal, where if, you have to wait for good weather, you can fully open your windows. But mostly I just mean opening the blinds or the curtains. It can be really easy in really hard times to keep the windows closed and to sit in the dark. And obviously, if you're having a migraine or something like that, is really helpful. But a lot of other times, sitting in the dark just kind of perpetuates the darkness that we're feeling. And if you can get a glimpse of outside, even if you're not able to go outside, it can be really, really uplifting. And it can kind of just give you a little bit of relief from the darkness that you're literally experiencing in your room. And just a reminder of the life that's outside your window and like what's going on out there and what are the birds doing and all of these little things that can really add up whenever it's really difficult. Just having access to sunlight is also really helpful biologically for us. We need vitamin D. We need sunlight to feel better and like mentally. And if you can open your windows, even just opening the blinds, I think you're really going to see a big difference. The final one is one that I am still working on. Personally, it is a really difficult habit for me, but not having your phone in bed, and especially like when you're trying to fall asleep or when you first wake up. I don't follow this one. I used to follow this one pretty well, and then I fell back into the bad habit of having it in my bed, and it's something I'm trying to work on, just to be transparent. But having the whole world at your fingertips and in your mind right before you go to sleep. It's just not good for you, and it's not good for me. And then seeing the whole world as soon as you first wake up is just not good. It's going to cause anxiety. It's going to make you feel sad. It's going to just cause frustration. It's going to make you feel like you're late. It's going to wake you up in a way that's not very gentle. And it's not going to produce like a happy experience for you. And if you're already going through a lot, this is a really easy one where you can just put it in the kitchen. Not having access to your phone in bed, I think it can do a world of good. I know it can because I've done it before, and it's really, really helped me a lot. And I hope to get there again. But if you can just find other ways to be entertained, I think that is a better alternative than being on your phone. Even though it can feel like a really happy distraction, the distraction is still not a good one. And I think if you can keep it out of your room, I think things will be a lot better. When we build good habits, whenever life is good and life is easier, then they just feel like second nature by the time the harder times come. And that's what I've noticed this last time is I started these habits whenever I felt like I was doing really well. And then when the hard times did hit, I was still able to have clean clothes. I was able to feed us. I was able to, make steps towards feeling better emotionally and mentally. And if I hadn't had these habits before, I would have been in the same like pit of grief and pit of despair, probably for a lot longer and for a lot deeper of a spiral. I know that these things seem really superficial and that they may not be helpful to everyone in every situation, but I just wish it was something that I knew when I was younger and when I was having really, really hard time managing myself and managing my life and felt a lot of anxiety, and being able just to see the difference in how I couldn't handle it before to where I could handle it a little bit better this last time with more people relying on me. I just wanted to share that with you all. This obviously isn't a replacement for therapy or counseling or, seeing your doctor, that kind of thing. Obvious caveat. And I know this is really different than my normal content. I know that I'm usually just talking about like decor and stuff, and we can get back to that. I feel like it was still kind of related to home, and that's kind of the whole point of our houses and apartments and where we live is they need to function with us and not against us. And that's kind of what I feel like these habits are for, is helping steward us to a better time and making sure that we're not in a state of anxiety. Like our homes should feel helpful if we can manage it. And I hope that these were helpful for that. Even if you're not going through a hard time, I think these habits can be really helpful, especially if you're new to living on your own and aren't really sure where to start. I think these tips are really helpful for that and kind of giving you a little bit of guidance of where to start. And I don't know. Like I said, I found them to be really helpful, and I hope you do too. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that 2026 is a beautiful, wonderful year for you, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.